Hi, this is Ray Deck of MinistryLive.org coming to you with another video post. This one titled 5 Things That You Need to Know About Working with Artists. Now, when I use the term artist, what I mean is anyone who does creative work. I'm talking about writers and singers and musicians and actors and bloggers, and I'm talking about anyone who does anything that you would consider creative. Because all of those people, I believe, have these 5 things in common. The first one is that artists are not machines. You can't expect the same thing under the same circumstances even on a different day from the same person. It's an art form. It's not a science. Creativity is impossible to predict. Sometimes it's impossible to stimulate, and other times it's impossible to dampen. That's what makes it so fun. That's what makes me so excited to work with creative people, because you never know what's going to happen. They're so unpredictable, and that makes it really exciting. But it can also be frustrating, because under the same circumstances, you're not getting the same thing that you did yesterday, and that can be aggravating. But you need to keep in mind that artists are not machines. Artists are people, and most of them are weird people. I can say these things because I would consider myself to be a creative person. I would consider myself in this category of creative people. So you can't have expectations that are too high. You can't expect them to just pump out creative material all the time, because they are putting more into what they are creating, they're into their artwork than just time. You can't expect an unlimited production without time to recharge or time to refill, because they're not machines. You can't set your expectations too high. That being said, artists need expectations. Artistic people need expectations. I know that as a writer, I can't write anything if I don't think what I'm writing is being counted on. If I don't have a deadline, if I don't think someone's going to read it, I don't care enough to create it. And I know that's true with most artists. If they don't feel like someone's counting on them, if they don't feel like someone's depending on them to be creative, they have a hard time getting anything to. They have a hard time creating anything. Necessity is the mother of invention. That phrase is absolutely true with creative people. Number 3 is that artists hate systems. And what I mean by that is that artists hate systems that they have to fight in order to be creative. It doesn't take a degree to be creative. It doesn't take a position to be creative. You don't have to be a certain age to be creative. And if the system in place in your ministry, whether it's a church or a youth group or a parachurch organization, if the system in place hampers creativity or limits creativity to an exclusive group of people, it's a broken system. Because creativity can come from anywhere. There are artists hiding all over the place in broken systems, and I believe those people may not even know that they're artists, because they've grown up in systems that are broken. They've grown up in places where they've been told, you can't be creative, or you can't do this creative thing unless you have this degree or have this position or dress this way or whatever it is. Ask yourself this question. How often do people come up to you as a leader, as a ministry leader? How often do people approach you with a new idea? If the answer is never, or something close to never, I would say that your system is probably broken. And you should evaluate the system that you have and how you work with artists and how you interact with them. Because a lot of times the system is what keeps creativity down. That being said, artists hate systems, but they also need systems. Artists, by nature, most artists are not very structured people. And they need structure. They need to know who they take their ideas to. They need to know what they're creating for. They need to know what their deadline is. They need someone to help them be organized and be structured, because as a general rule, they're not. So they need a system. As much as they hate it, they need some kind of system. The key is to have as little system as you can. You want a system that will do one thing, basically one thing and one thing only. Connect the creative needs of your organization or your church or your ministry with the creative people who want to help. And you need a system to do that, but you need a system that doesn't do anything more than that. The last thing is probably the most overlooked in this list, and that is that artists need community. And this is true of all people. All people need community. But artists need community, I think, just a little bit more than the average person. Because they can't create. They can't be artistic. They can't be creative. They can't be who they are unless they have community. Unless they have friends to inspire them and encourage them. Unless they have mentors to challenge them and push them. And unless they have an audience. Someone who is expecting something of them. Artists need community. And maybe, just maybe, the artists in your ministry are looking for you to help create that community. And maybe what they need is a little more creative fuel from a community that they don't have. I hope these things have been helpful. If you can think of anything else to add to this list of 5 things to keep in mind, or 5 things to know, 5 rules, or whatever you want to call it, in dealing with creative people, artistic people. If you can think of something else to add, drop it in the comments. I'll respond. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to get some discussion going about this. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.